Welcome to GDs. And this is The Lincoln Lawyer, Season 2, Part 2. Episode starts with Izzy finding Mickey, and she rushes him to the hospital. As Mickey wakes up, he was happy to see Maggie and Haley by his side. Izzy, feeling guilty, reveals to Mickey that the only person who had access to the car other than her was her girlfriend Ray, and when she finally came up with her half of the payment for the studio, she knew that it was her who stole the contract, and thus, she has broken up with her. Mickey tells her that it's not her fault, and she need not worry. He then tells Cisco that Grant might have sent men to attack him, as they have been looking for him to testify. In addition, he also is suspicious about Henry, and asks Cisco to look if there is a connection between Grant and him. He then apologizes to Lorna for busting out on her. Lorna forgives him, and informs him that she came up with a plan to serve Grant. Lorna, with help from one of Mickey's old client, was able to trick Grant to come to an art gallery, and as he reached there, they were able to serve him with the subpoena. Later, as Mickey gets better, he is released from the hospital, and as he returns home, he was surprised to see that Maggie and Haley have decided to stay with him until he recovers, and we see them spending a good time with each other. With Grant not wanting to testify, he tries to get the subpoena suppressed, but Mickey, wanting to put pressure on him, gets a lot of media presence, and Grant, not wanting to show the world that he had anything to hide, agrees to testify at the court hearing. But the judge lets Mickey know that although he was successful in getting Grant to agree to testify, but she will only allow it if he can provide more evidence of his relevance to the present case. And as luck would have it, Mickey receives an FBI target letter against Grant, which was sent to him anonymously. Mickey asks Cisco to get it verified if it's true, as he wanted to be sure of the same before using it in the court. He also learns from Cisco that Henry's executive producer works for Grant, and this confirmed his suspicions. Mickey confronts Henry, and he accepted that he was the one who paid to steal the contract from his car, but denied having any involvement in the attack on him. Mickey, now knowing that it is Grant who is behind the podcast, tells Henry to relay a message to him and inform him that he has nothing against him and is just fishing. And he wants it to be done so that Grant's guards are lowered when he will be testifying on the stand. On his way home, he sees a postcard from Miami, signifying that Gloria reached there safely. Being home, Mickey and Maggie, finding a spark, end up spending a passionate night together. But in the morning, Maggie tells him that she has accepted a promotion and will be moving to San Diego. In addition, she was also not willing to continue their on-off relationship. She also lets him know that Haley will be staying with him until he recovers completely. Meanwhile, Izzy decides to start her dance studio alone, but as she goes to finalize the studio, she learns that the security fees on the studio has been increased, which now makes it unaffordable for her. Lorna, learning the same, helps Izzy out, as she was able to gain evidence that the studio owner was racially discriminating against her. The studio owner, being caught, agreed to honor their deal with Izzy, and she finally was able to get her studio. As the trial of Lisa starts, Detective O'Brien delivers convincing testimony for the prosecution. He lets the jury know about Lisa's blooded gloves and a possible murder weapon, the missing hammer from her toolkit. He also informs the jury about a shard of glass found at the crime scene, which they haven't been able to identify. But despite the same, the detective's testimony was quite damaging. Mickey, still not having the confirmation of the FBI target letter, stalls the proceedings. As Cisco, using his connections, tries to find whether the letter is authentic. Cisco eventually meets with Felix Vasquez, the FBI agent who signed the letter. Mickey, learning the same, introduces the letter to paint Grant as an alternative suspect. In addition, he points out that Bondurant threatened Grant with going to the authorities, and days later, he was on FBI's target list, after which he was murdered. The detective, before leaving the stand, admitted that he didn't know about the FBI's target letter. Andy, in order to prove that the letter is of no significance, calls FBI agent Vasquez to testify, but his answers implied otherwise. Agent Vasquez privately reveals to Mickey that he sent the letter himself, as they want him to question Grant and help them in their investigation. With Agent Vasquez's testimony, the judge allowed Mickey to call Grant in his defense of Lisa. While Andy introduces a newly discovered piece of evidence, the previously missing murder weapon. With the murder weapon being found, and belonging to Lisa, her case became even stronger. Lisa, on the other hand, maintained her innocence. With the evidence against her getting stronger, and Mickey not wanting her to testify, he asks Cisco to find her ex-husband Jeff. In court, Mickey cuts off Andy's flow by acknowledging the hammer and the gloves they found are Lisa's, and the blood on them is of Bondurant, and he did so in order to stop the prosecutor from making a show out of it. Mickey questions the detective on his investigation, as they found the murder weapon months after the initial search. Which means that either their investigation was not proper, or the evidence was planted later. As the court breaks, Haley and Mickey's team surprise him for his birthday, along with the arrival of his dramatic mother Elena. He later spends time with Haley, and learns that she has a crush on a boy at her riding lessons. While his mother goes on an audition spree, with Izzy as her driver. While Cisco and Lorna had to push their wedding, as they lost the venue. Later, Jeff Trammell, Lisa's ex-husband, shows up to meet Mickey, and he tells him that he is willing to testify on Lisa's behalf, and will say anything he wants, but he wants to get paid for the same. Knowing this, Mickey sends him away. Back in court, Andy puts a disgruntled Lisa's neighbor to testify about Lisa's violent fights with her ex-husband Jeff, but Mickey was able to show her bias by revealing that her neighbor lost out on a $1 million deal due to Lisa's refusal to sell her property to Bondurant. Andy then puts Kim on the stand, a building inspector, who took the photo, because of which Bondurant was able to get a restraining order against Lisa. Mickey, in order to establish that Bondurant was the aggressor, introduces the video of the event, and it showed the complete scenario. And as Kim leaves the court, one of Lisa's employees seems to recognize him. Andy then calls Henry, as while recording his podcast, Lisa revealed that she knew where Bondurant parked his car. Andy, providing means, opportunity, and motive, finally rests her case. Mickey, not wanting the jury to leave, with prosecution's case in mind, decides to put Lisa on the stand. Lisa does well under Mickey's questioning, but later, when Andy provokes her, she snaps, and has an ugly outburst about her ex-husband. Mickey then calls Lisa's employee as her character witness, but Andy confronts him with his past angry social media posts about Lisa. Andy was also able to cast doubt when Dr. Arslanian, Mickey's forensics expert, uses a mannequin to demonstrate the improbability of Lisa killing the much taller Bondurant. Mickey, running out of options, finally calls Grant on the stand. With Grant on the stand, Mickey is able to show his close relation with the mob. In addition, he was also able to make a point to the jury that Bondurant got murdered after he threatened him. As Mickey pushed him, Grant invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, preventing Andy from cross-examining him. Agent Vasquez tells Mickey that the FBI was not happy with his tactics, as they wanted to get information out from him. In court, Mickey calls his final witness, Cisco, and he reveals that a van owned by Grant's business was outside Bondurant's building at the time of the murder. Thus, making his case of Grant being the culprit even more gripping, and he rests his case. With both sides resting their case, Andy gives a compelling closing statement. As Mickey starts to prepare his closing statement, he learns from Lisa's employee that Kim visited Lisa's restaurant, posing as a health inspector. Knowing this, Mickey realizes that this would have given him access to Lisa's gloves and hammer. In addition, since he was bribed by Grant, he too was equally threatened by Bondurant. As Cisco looks for him, he learns that Kim is missing, and they realize that Grant must have taken care of him. Mickey, knowing that he cannot do anything now, prepares and delivers a compelling closing argument, emphasizing that Lisa was framed. The jury's deliberation was quick, and they acquitted Lisa. With Lisa being acquitted, and no longer being a client of Mickey, they spent a passionate night together. Later, Mickey finds that her mother Elena got a role in a film, and she was leaving for her shooting. While Cisco learned that Kim's body was recovered, and when the police searched his belongings, they found his broken inspection mirror, and it matched perfectly with a shard of glass, which was found near Bondurant's body, which made it clear that he was the actual murderer. Andy also congratulated Mickey on winning, and knowing that her client was actually innocent. Later, Mickey, visiting Venice Beach with Haley, and listening to all the sounds, realizes that Jeff, Lisa's ex-husband, with whom he met, was lying about everything. He then goes through Lisa's old and deleted restaurant photos, and he was able to find a photo of the man whom he met, and he was not Jeff, but an ex-employee of hers. Knowing this, Mickey confronts Lisa, and tells her that he knows that Jeff filed for divorce, which jeopardized her restaurant. So instead of settling, she killed him, and he believes that she buried him on her property, and that's the reason she refused to sell to Bondurant, fearing that the truth might come out. As Mickey leaves, we see the police reaching her restaurant, and we learn that it was Lorna who called Griggs to investigate. We then get to see Cisco and Lorna tying the knot at the courthouse. But Cisco surprises Lorna with a reception at Izzy's studio. With his firm expanding, Lorna and Mickey discuss the prospect of hiring interns, while Izzy also asks him to let her stay on part-time till she could get her studio running, and Mickey agrees. As Mickey leaves, Lorna tells Izzy that she thinks that it was Lisa who sent men after Mickey in order to make him believe that it was Grant behind everything. Later, Mickey was nearly hit by a car. And as he drives off, he gets a call. And he goes to meet Julian Lacasse, and he has been accused of killing Giselle Dallinger. Julian claimed that he is innocent, and it was Giselle who told him to call him if he ever needed help. And as the season ends, we see Mickey going to the morgue to know who is Giselle, and as Mickey sees her face, we learn that she was Gloria. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.